Hello and welcome to the Sancia block. I'm Santo Cheravino, and today's topic is the National Dividend. In Sancia, I've decided to adopt what is more popularly known as the basic income, and that's where just for being a citizen you're cut a check, um, and the purpose of this is supposed to eliminate poverty because now everybody gets, you know, a fixed amount of income no matter what their situation, whether they're too sick or they just can't find a job, or maybe they want to pursue something, or anything sort of thing. Um, but I've specifically named it the National Dividend because the concept is um, the money is collectively earned to all the Sancian nationals and redistributed accordingly. Every business transaction, all the taxes generated, basically every Sancian would be getting a piece of that right back. And let me explain part of the real motive behind this is a best way to explain it. Think about how blood circulation in an organism's body works. Um, in an artery, that's when the blood is going out to every organ across the organism, and the vein is when the blood is going back to the heart to get pumped again. Um, in using that in the form of currency, think of the blood going back to the vein as the taxes we pay, whether it's in land, sales, income, capital gains, any of that sort of thing. Anything, just tax money is getting channeled right back to the heart. So you would think that those cells are doing their job, right? But there's got to be some way to oxygenate those cells. There's got to be some way to carry the nutrients, essentially. And after it's all absorbed in the lungs, the heart has to pump it out. And to do that, it gets to everybody through the use of the artery. That arterial pulse is what would be the equivalent to the Sancian National Dividend. You're basically redistributing all that money to every cell, the Sancians, to be able to perform and function as they need to in society. Some may argue that there's no motive to work anymore because now everybody's getting paid, but take into account it's only enough to pay for the individual. When you have to take care of a family, now you have to earn more, or maybe you're bored of a standard income. Maybe you want to make more money, or maybe you really have a heartfelt contribution you want to give to the world. You go and do it. The idea is to at least give everybody some standing chance in an environment where maybe they can't find work, or they're just unable to work, or they're trying to relocate, that sort of thing. Now, this is not a new idea. This isn't something trippy. I was extremely inspired by this, in part of the fact that one of the American founding fathers, Thomas Paine, wrote about it. I believe the date was like the winter of 1795-96, and he wrote a pamphlet called Agrarian Justice, where he explained the idea was to recirculate some of the land tax back to the people on the grounds that every square inch of the country belonged to the people, but because we need the necessary evil of privatizing the land in order to produce for the country, to compensate that loss, you're essentially renting the land from the people. You give it back to the people, and that principle in itself, blew my mind. I'm like, if a founding father came up with this, then this can't be a joke. A lot of people say, "Oh, you gotta work." It's one thing to have a good work ethic and do things that are right, but when you have to do it to like stay alive, that's kind of like, I don't even know if I should call it borderline or over the border slavery. You're essentially saying work or you ain't worth living. It's just not right. I can't in good faith have a family member like that. And part of Sancian national ethic is we're all family. We see each other like brothers and sisters. You know, everybody deserves at least a shot. It's one thing to not pay everybody a full-on retirement, and let's use American currency for example, full $70,000, they can go bling and everything, crazy fashions. No. I would say normally $25 to $30,000 should be enough to get by. And that's if you're not in like a crazy expensive area, like my native Long Island. Blech. So to speak, like I said, it's not an old idea. In fact, take this into account. There is I don't know if I want to use the word primitive, but it's a smaller version in effect right now in the state of Alaska. They call it the Alaska Permanent Fund. And the thing with that is the dividends that the oil companies in Alaska produce get collected by the state and redistributed to every Alaskan citizen every year. Now, that's just the oil industry. Imagine if you had every goddamn industry, like, nationwide. Let's use America for an example. I mean, I should go with Sancian, but it's only a concept thing. Let's take every industry. Fast food. Let's take department stores, funerals, porn, casinos, defense spending, just anything. So many industries. Just a little bit of that in the form of dividends or even like bond fund yields. Take those and just redistribute them across the people. Like, do you know what that does? Just like I mentioned earlier, like blood, it recirculates and re-energizes each of the cells. You do that, now guess what the cells can do? Buy things. And if they can buy things, that means commerce can keep going. People will complain, well, there's not enough resources for everybody. Well, I'm going to be upfront. People die. People are not interested in things. People like to buy certain things. Not everybody's going to be able to buy everything. Maybe it's a law thing, like, let's say the metal used for one thing is only going to be spent for the government, say, like on military equipment versus, some civilian purpose. I'm going on here. The point is, you can keep money going if there's money to keep going. The point of the national dividend is to recirculate the money. Yeah, you could put it back into the system like rebuilding the roads, and it should. But of all the excess spending that's out there and for exorbitant amount of taxes, it should be recycled back to the people to basically keep themselves in check, especially to participate in society. Yeah, essentially, just give everybody the money without question, as long as you're a citizen. I do want to add, though, that this is as long as the citizen is in good standing. The idea is to, if anybody decides to commit a crime, serious enough, cut them off of it. Now, they don't deserve that kind of style of living. Now they have to work for their existence. It's a way to, like, put them in their place without, being too nice. And, essentially, that's pretty important. I would say only the people who are also like Sancian citizens or nationals. Let me go with that. Like, even if you aren't a citizen but you are Sancian as a national, you would still get a piece of the income because hey, you're in it now. I would probably argue to do this in the form of either a land tax, like Thomas Paine proposed, which I think is the smartest way to go about it. But for me, I would say like industrial bonds or commercial bonds, any of that sort of thing. The idea is the state has no equity in a specific company. It's just lending its money, and the money it makes back is what gets redistributed to the people. I think back to when we had those big companies bail out with the government help. I forget if they did it with the bonds or equity, but the idea was they had every opportunity to better themselves in the market or face the wrath of the invisible hand, and instead asked the government for help. Billions of dollars were spent to improve the standing of a corporate I'm sorry, a bank, auto companies, instead of recirculating that money, say, perfect example, the banks could have had their money back anyway if the people were given that same money the banks were given to pay off those mortgages. The mortgages would have been paid off, people would have kept their houses outright, and there would not have been a problem. Win-win. People get their houses, the banks get their money. As far as the auto companies, they really should be upping their game and, kind of going away from the whatever's dragging them down, like their reliance on the oil system instead of, bouncing up the same way the Japanese have. And that I found was a bit wasteful. Think about it. You got these companies getting billions of dollars, but what did we get that time? $600 check? Come on. No. If we're going to get that $600 check, at least give it to us every 2 weeks to a month, you know? Just so we can at least have a leg up in this game. I actually should have more to say, but considering I'm kind of working with a limited amount of time, I guess that's all I have to say. Long story short, the National Dividend is a program that recirculates currency into the system to enable people to have some level of money and remain participant in society, as opposed to struggling on the very dependence of needing a job in their very own home country. At least that's the principle. It's like being a parent and giving your kids some kind of allowance just so they have a leg up, and then if they want to work for more, they can go and do that. That's the kind of thing I'm saying with. Alright, unless I think of something else, I'll have to put it into another episode. Alright, till next time.